Before you talk to the team about what the Chiefs did last year, starting 1-5 and then making the playoffs, what was kind of, you go over that message, what was kind of the gist of that message to them?
It's been done before.
Feel like you're in a position where you can do it again?
Yeah, again, we got to approach it one game at a time, and that's how we're going to approach it. I mean, it's Kansas City now. And that's really pretty much what's said. That's been done before, and we're going to approach them one at a time.
Shaq looked pretty mobile. Ladder work on the sideline. How's his knee feeling?
Looking pretty good. Again, he's he's going to see how he is tomorrow. I mean, it's important. You go through that intensive workout, and it's always about how the leg reacts. And if he's fine in the morning, we may get him on the field, and we'll see. A lot of it's just according to how he does the next day.
Are you able to give an update on Michael Orr?
No, Michael's still in the protocol, and we'll go from there with Michael.
Your understanding with him, Ron, that he'd still like to play this year, and would you still like him to play, or at some point do you think about just shutting him down?
At the end of the day, Joe is in the protocol. I can't tell you one way or the other, and I most certainly don't want to speak for what Michael has to say.
Tight end tweeted last night that maybe could do things a little later today because people were up late with the election. Could you tell the energy level, anything different with players that stayed up late last night?
I think a lot of people stayed up late, so that's no excuse. We went out and practiced. We, as I told you guys before, we've transitioned our the way we're going to practice, and I thought practice was good. I think truth of the matter is I do think they're a little bit tired. I think it's more so about coming back, Sunday or Monday morning at 3:30 in the morning, more than anything else. So. It just worked out very nicely that this was a week we were transitioning our Wednesday practice schedule, and so I think it worked to our benefit. We'll see how they react tomorrow. Now, if they're still tired tomorrow, then I'll be concerned.
Has there been any difficulty in separating politics in the locker room, or has it pretty much been kept out?
Not in this locker room. They do talk about it. They do discuss it, and they just kind of go with it. It's not as divisive in the locker room as it is in some other places.
Did you have anything to say to them post-election today?
No, not at all. Again, I think at the end of the day now it's about this country healing and coming back together more so than anything else.
Were you pleased or disappointed with how things turned out?
I'm pleased for America. I mean, we're going to go forward. And again, that's just the way it is.
Vernon getting closer?
Yes. Yes. Actually, Vernon did a little bit more. I think this didn't participate in practice is a little unfair because we didn't have a regular type practice. So he did a lot of stuff off to the side, which is a lot more than he did last week. So, again, hopefully he'll react very well to the stuff that the trainers did with him on the side, and then maybe we'll get him back tomorrow. So we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Noticeable differences in the run game in Sunday's game?
Well, probably the biggest thing, more so than anything else, is the way the game was played. It was a very physical game. They loaded the box. We loaded the box. It was just a very physical game, and more so than it was anything else. The one thing, if you really looked at it, I know we didn't run for 100 yards, but we controlled the ball, especially in the fourth quarter when we needed to. We came up with two big field goals that really helped us, and a lot of it was set up by the running of Jonathan Stewart. And I thought that was a big message for our offense, more so than anything else. That in a tough physical game like that, when we had to pound it out, they were able to pound it out. So I was very pleased and satisfied with that, more so than anything else.
It was up to Ryan. Would he have played on Sunday?
Well, I know he was trying to battle through it, and at the end of the day, I didn't give him a chance and just told him, hey, we're going to be smart about this and we're going to move forward. So he accepted it, but he was battling. He worked out on Saturday and everything like that, and I watched him work out, hitting the pads and the sleds, and I just felt that going forward it's more important that we make sure we're being smart with it.
You had, Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Looks like Alex Smith is going to start for them, so you can just talk about him as a quarterback.
Well, again, he's a guy that's been in the system, has had some success with Andy. He's a very athletic, mobile quarterback. He's got a good release. He runs their offense very well. And again, he pretty much engineered last year's comeback for them, so we know he's a more than capable football player. And he's got some pretty good weapons around him.
Is he more mobile than people give him credit?
Yes, very much so. He had a very good career at Utah. And then when you see some of the things that he did when he was with San Francisco, he's a pretty impressive runner.
What's your confidence level on Khalil this week?
Confident. But again, we'll see how he is tomorrow morning.
To have him go through a practice at
Yep.
some point.
It's always the hope.
And you were down a couple centers today, it looked like, with Gino too.
Well, Gino did his work, when we were doing the installation portion of it as well. So we're just, see how he is tomorrow morning, and we'll go from there.
What, if you're able to say, what kind of response you got back from the league on Cam this week? I know there were some reports that, I think Werder reported that neither of those hits
Right.
should have been, they were.
Well, the responses I get, I'm not going to comment on them. I appreciate the league getting back to me, and, I appreciate, them taking a look at things and responding. And we'll just leave it at that.
You pro full-time officials?
Yes, I agree with what Coach Payton said. I think, having these guys, being able to work and prepare and, be around the game, I think it's going to help them. I think it's going to give them a little more experience, a little more opportunity to study their craft, to study the opponents, to study, that are going to be playing the game, and get a sense and feel for what's going on. I mean, it's a very difficult job, and a lot of these guys do have, their own lives. But at the same time, it's tough when, you have full-time employees, basically counting on guys that, that come in and, do their job for 3 or 4 days. It's tough. It's hard. And, and hopefully it helps them.
What do you make of, ever since Cam said that, going back, and then certainly this past game, it seemed like every hit on him, there's a referendum on it.
I think so. And again, I think at some point, part of it has to do with playing football. I mean, this is what the game is. It's a physical game. The biggest thing we're trying to do is we're trying to lower the target. That's probably the most important thing. And maybe to influence or impact players to wanting to lower the targets, maybe the penalties may need to be a little bit more stiffer. It's worked out there for wide receivers going across the middle. So maybe if we, if we as a league look at that and say, okay, if we really do want to try and eliminate that, maybe the penalty has to be a little bit stiffer. Maybe, getting guys to understand that if you do this, kind of like what happens in the college game, they eject the players. And if they eject you late in the game, you don't get to play the next game. I mean, it seems to help, and I'd like to believe that it would help, that if we do something that's going to motivate these guys to lower their targets, maybe it'll help.
But in that vein, and even Cam, when he stood up there, he said, talking about tearing his ACL, it wasn't necessarily about the hits to the head, it was the shot to the
Right.
knee. I mean, when you talk
Then-
about lowering targets, the one that
Then
comes, though,
raise the target. I mean, we
sounds
did.
like a strike zone.
Right, they were basically, yes. They basically already told him, you got to hit the guy above the knee and below the head and neck area. So, again, it's just like you said, we're talking strike zones now. Now you know where you're allowed to hit a guy, especially a guy that's in a prone position, that's standing there getting prepared to throw a football. That's a pretty nasty position to be in. Your eyes are downfield. You don't see anybody below, and that's tough. I mean, we get that. That's part of it. But at the same time, if there's a way to help it, to discourage those types of shots, maybe we can do something to discourage that by increasing the penalty.
So not to put words in your mouth, but you would be for the way the college system is, you would be for that?
No, I think what we need to do is really take a look at what's going on to make sure that we have the right system in place. Again, this is not easy by any stretch of the imagination, and a lot of it is just the more awareness we have as a viewing public, as a league, as players, as fans. People are a lot more aware of the injuries situation now, and everybody's pointing to certain things, and it really is changing the game to a degree.
Is it your perception that there will be a more intensified push for reform in the offseason, especially from head coaches?
I think there will be, and not necessarily just from us, but from the league. I think the league, you know, a couple weeks ago, I said when we talked with the commissioner, I was really appreciative of his insight and his discussion and conversation about it. So I do think that something's will be discussed and talked about, and who knows, maybe we'll be able to figure something out and find an answer to help, you know, create a better system that can help the referees. Because again, you know, what they're trying to do is difficult. I mean, I agree with that. I think that their job is very hard. Part of it too is just angles and being able to see what's happening. You know, it's tough to see a shot from the front when you're behind the guy. So it's hard, and they're in a difficult situation.
How much concern do you have that these shots might be taking years off of Cam's career?
Now, that's an unfair question to ask, just so you know, okay? But I am very concerned, not just for him, but for any football player. But that's not a fair question for me.
I think you mentioned possibly ejection. You think sitting out a game is an option that would help too?
Well, I think it's something we have to look at, you know, and I think, again, it's something that has to be discussed. You just, you know, can't say that, you know, on a whim. I think we really have to look at what potentially would help to detour, you know, to get people to play within that strike zone.
What can you say about the keys to this game, the Sunday versus the Chiefs?
Well, I think more so than anything else is we've got to be able to protect football, take the football away, shut down their running game, run the ball successfully, and keep our pocket clean for our quarterback. I think if we can, you know, do those things, I think we give ourselves a chance. It's a good football team coming in. You know, we know that. And, again, we've got to play to our abilities and capitalize when we get opportunities.
Ron, it's horribly, you talked about playing against or coaching against Andy on Sunday, and you've done that in the past. But I mean, when you, after working for him for so long and working with him for so long, is this one of those chess match kind of games? Is it, you know, has the old dog learned a couple of tricks that you have to prepare for that you might have seen somewhere on film? Or I mean,
Well,
how do you guys approach this?
I mean, pretty much as if you're playing anybody else. It's to me, you always game plan about what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they have a certain type of offense that we try to defend. They have a certain type of defense we try to attack. Special teams are going to, you know, be part of it, and so it's really, I mean, you know, the personality and who they are might have a little to do with it, but it's really about what they do more so, I think, than anything else. I mean, it's a lot of fun to coach against Coach, and you know, and it'll be great to see him. You know, I'm a huge fan and very appreciative of him giving me my opportunity. So that's really neat for me, and you know, I do look forward to Sunday. All right, cool guys.